everyone! Today I'll be teaching you how to use the NLA Editor. And with the NLA Editor, we can combine animations, repeat animations, speed them up and slow them down, or even reverse them without adding any keyframes at all. So in the Animation tab, we can go ahead and swap the dope sheet over to the Action Editor. And in the Action Editor, it will let us see our different animations that we've made. Go to the bottom left down here and drag just straight up, and in this icon we can change it to the non-linear animator. So the first thing that we'll go over is the manual frame range. It's when your animation should start and when your animation should end. If I were to go into pose mode here and select all of them, my animation will actually end on frame, or start on frame 27 all the way back here, and frame 51 up here, and the reason is because we haven't set a manual frame range. And to see that, if we pop this down here, this strip right here starts way before 0, and we want it to actually start at 0 here. So to do that, you just check manual frame range, and you want to change its values to 0, and we'll change it to the end frame, which is 25 for me. Now, one thing to be careful about is I would not recommend dragging this, because we can actually drag in between keyframes, and that can sometimes cause problems when you're trying to export it to something like Unreal Engine. You could see that if we pull our timeline past that, the animation will actually still play past the timeline because it's counting only to the end. But when we drop this down right here, the animation does not account for the extra end frames that we added, only for the manual time. Now, for pushing animations down, what we could do here is you can either push the push down button and this button. And basically what that does is it just takes your action and puts it straight into the NLA editor. What we want to do here is we actually want to turn on this little check right here. It's kind of like a cursor. And the reason we want to do that is that way we're not seeing every nonlinear animation for every object at the same time. So say we were to duplicate this guy, put it on the X, you can actually see two of them. So we see armature.001 and armature for the actual guy we have here. And if we check this, we only see what we have selected. So if we select both of them, that's when we see them both. Now say that we want to speed up this animation. It's actually really simple to do so. So if you press N while you're in the nonlinear animator, you'll pop up this menu. How we can change the speed is we can actually mess with this playback. So if we change this one right here, we could see that the animation is really quick now. We can also repeat this to kind of exaggerate it, so that way we can see it actually playing. And you just slide this up, and you can check where the repeat is with this white line right here. And every white line is a full loop of your animation, basically. So you can count that there's 1, 2, 3 of these sections, and then there's just a little bit after. So say you were wanting to line it directly up with the end frame 27 here, we can actually just change our playback scale until it matches the way that we like. It kind of snaps. This is actually where that manual frame set becomes really important, to not have it at a point something value, because we have it at an even value, it slides in perfectly. But if you were to have a point value in here and I were just to drag this up, you can see that it will no longer line up with your timeline. Maybe we don't want it to repeat all the way over here. We can, of course, mess with the repeat value, but there's actually a better way to do this. We can actually just straight up cut off the end half. So if we drag our playhead to right here, if you select your NLA track, press Y, you can actually completely split this NLA track in half. And then you just delete this other part, and you'll have a perfect split. So if we want to delete an animation from the NLA track that we're on, we can select the animation, press the delete key, or we can right click and delete strips. If we want to delete an NLA track, we can actually just click on it and do the delete key, or we can do delete tracks over here. Now to add in some NLA tracks over here, you actually have to have one to start with. We actually get one whenever we push an action down. So if there isn't one here currently, that just means you just simply need to get the animation that you want, push down here. And once you push this down, you'll actually have that first NLA track. If we then select it, we can press Shift A to add more NLA track. If you try to click just the action up here and press Shift A, you'll actually get a warning. This animation is actually intended to be relatively fast. So what we can do here is we just go down into action clip and then just go ahead and pull that back in the playback scale, and then we can repeat it with the repeat value and just drag it all the way to the end. And maybe that's a bit too quick, so let's just go ahead and extend that out. Now for combining animations together, we can just add in a new action right here. Select this NLA track and press Shift A, and we can find the animation we want to put in. So when we put this animation on the top track up here, you can actually see that we lost a lot of animation. Like originally we had this big wiggle up here and his body was kind of moving, and then we go to this one and you can see that we don't have any more of that motion. It's only taking the motion of the second one for the upper half, and this is because of the extrapolation mode, and you can actually see this demonstrated with these orange lines that go back. So if we were to change the extrapolation mode, which is in active strip, to nothing, we can actually see that we get the wiggle right at the start. So if I drag this up, you can see it more. Now, you can actually see that it's a bit snappy when we do this. It's moving left and right, and then it just instantly snaps to going back. We kind of want to ease it in, and how we can do that is we can actually mess with the blend in and blend out options. If we were to turn on the auto blend in, you can actually see this triangle shape right here, which kind of fades it in. This is what that blend in is doing. So it'll blend in all the way to this point with that animation. If we were to play this now, you can see that it's actually doing a really smooth movement into the back animation now. We could keep the rest of this animation if we just do it manually. So instead of checking auto blend, we can go blend in right here and just casually choose our own amount. And then this lets us have a little bit more control over the animation. The order of which your animations are placed in the NLA track is also really important because it goes top down. So what that means is if I were to drag this animation up here, notice that the second animation here actually doesn't get played at all. And it's not that it's not playing, it's just none of its keyframes are actually able to continue because of the blending mode. You can see that when we change this to combine, the way that the animations come together is completely different, and they don't interact the same because these keyframes came first and these came second. Let's go ahead and give him an animation where he's running down the hallway. So to do that, we can just go ahead and create a new action. I'll just name this move walk forwards. And then if we try to put this down into the NLA editor, it'll actually give us a warning saying that we need to have at least one keyframe. We can go ahead and create a keyframe if we just drag this guy to the back of the hallway, and then we just go ahead and keyframe the location here. We're actually going to modify this in the NLA editor this time instead of the action editor. Go ahead and push this down, and you can see actually that it gives us 1 second. Now to actually mess with this, all you got to do is select your NLA track right here and press tab. And when you press tab, you're actually going into edit mode on this NLA strip. Now, the first thing that we want to do is we want to change its frame end. So if we just drag this, we want to bring it to 40. So now what we can do here, if we just want him to continuously move forward, we go to frame 40, we can take this guy and just drag him up and be like, I want him to be right here, like a little jump scare, right? So if we take location, we can now play and just see him coming and running up after us. And he kind of slows down at the end, but instead I want it to be a straight motion. So we can go ahead and change this to a vector. Now, if you want to exit the NLA track after creating your little animation in it, you can go into your NLA track and press tab to exit. Alright, thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'll be posting more tutorials every week. So I hope you all have a wonderful day.